6 weeks after the battle, Nexus Prime looked almost normal again. The station's damaged sections had been repaired. New ships arrived daily, bringing delegates who wanted to meet the humans. But the debris field around the station remained, a reminder of what had happened, a memorial to the 15,000 who had died before the Steadfast stopped the slaughter. Captain Hyunwoo stood in the memorial garden that had been built inside the station. Holographic displays showed the names of every person who died in the battle. Velkari, Thornax, Ashara, dozens of other species. He read each name slowly, honoring their sacrifice. "You come here every day," a voice said behind him. He turned to see Ambassador Yuna approaching. She looked different now, more confident. The galaxy treated her with respect instead of dismissal. "They died because no one listened to our warnings," Hyunwoo said quietly. "If the Council had believed us, maybe some of them would still be alive." "You can't blame yourself for their prejudice," Yuna said gently. "I don't. But I remember them anyway." They stood together in silence for a while. Then Yuna spoke again. "The Council wants to offer you a position. Head of Galactic Defense. They want you to train their fleets, teach them how to fight like humans." Hyunwoo shook his head. "I'm a ship captain, not a teacher. You're whatever the galaxy needs you to be now. Whether you like it or not, you're a symbol, the human who stood when everyone else ran." Daeyun stood. Jiho stood. Every member of my crew stood. They deserve credit too. They're getting it. Engineer Park has 50 species asking her to help redesign their ships. Lieutenant Lee is being offered tactical positions in half a dozen fleets. Your entire crew has become famous. Hyunwoo smiled slightly. How are they handling it? Da-un loves it. She's been giving lectures on human engineering principles. Jiho is overwhelmed but managing. Taemin is actually enjoying teaching navigation to aliens who thought they knew everything. Suho has defense contractors begging him to share weapons technology. And Bora has started a cross-species medical exchange program. Good, they earned it. He paused. What about you, Ambassador? You worked for 3 years to get us invited to that summit. Now we're not just invited, we're essential. How does that feel? Yuna thought about it. Bittersweet. I wanted humanity to be accepted, but not because of war. I wanted us to earn respect through diplomacy. We did earn it through diplomacy, Hyunwoo said. We just had to explain our position very directly. She laughed. It was the first time he had heard her truly laugh since the battle. In the council chambers, a special session was being held. This time, humans were not sitting in the back. They had a full delegation at the main table, equal to any other species. Admiral Hana Bayek sat at the human seat, her uniform crisp and decorated with medals. Beside her was a civilian, Dongwoo Im, a scientist who had helped develop humanity's unique drive systems. The council had requested his presence to understand human technology better. The Ashara leader called the session to order. We gather today to discuss the integration of human defensive technology into our united fleets. Dr. M, please explain the principles behind your ship's capabilities. Dongwoo stood. He was a quiet man who preferred laboratories to speeches, but he spoke clearly. Our technology is not mysterious. It is simply focused differently than yours. While your species perfected faster-than-light travel, humanity perfected sublight acceleration and sustained high-velocity operation. He activated a holographic display showing the Steadfast. This ship looks heavy because it is heavy. The armor is thick to withstand impacts at relativistic speeds. The cooling systems are massive because friction at near light speed generates incredible heat. The structural frame is reinforced because the forces involved would tear apart lighter vessels. A Velkari engineer raised a hand. But why? Why focus on sublight speed when FTL is clearly superior for travel? Because, Dongwoo explained, Earth's location was exposed to hostile aliens before we had FTL technology. We couldn't run away. We had to defend our home system, so we built ships that could fight anywhere in the system at speeds that made distance irrelevant. A ship that can reach 75% light speed can cross a solar system in hours, not days. The Thornax military commander leaned forward. And the kinetic weapons? Simple physics. At relativistic speeds, anything becomes a weapon. A tungsten rod moving at 70% light speed hits with the force of nuclear weapons. We don't need exotic energy weapons or quantum disruptors. We just need mass and velocity. It's brilliant, a small furred alien said. Primitive in concept but brilliant in execution. Not primitive, Admiral Hana corrected firmly. Focused. There's a difference. The Velkari ambassador spoke up. We have been analyzing the battle data. Your ships can also maneuver at these speeds in ways ours cannot. How? Dongwu smiled. Because we had to. Fighting in a star system means constant course corrections, dodging planets and asteroids and debris. Your ships are optimized for straight-line FTL jumps. Ours are optimized for combat maneuvering at any speed. The fusion pulse drives can vector thrust in multiple directions, allowing turns that would tear apart conventional engines. Could our ships be retrofitted? The Thornax asked. No, Dongwu said bluntly. Your ships are too light, too fragile for this kind of stress. You would need to completely rebuild them with heavier frames, better cooling, stronger structure. Essentially, you would need to build new ships. Then teach us how to build them, the Ashara leader said. Humanity will share this technology? Admiral Hana stood. Yes, but under conditions. First, any species that receives this technology must sign a non-aggression pact with Earth. Second, the technology cannot be used against human vessels or interests. Third, we maintain oversight on how it's implemented. Those are fair terms, the Velkari ambassador said. Others nodded agreement. There's one more thing, Hana added. This technology is defensive in nature. It's meant to protect, not conquer. Any species we catch using human-designed ships for unprovoked aggression will lose access to all human technology and face our fleet. We will not allow our innovations to become tools of oppression. The hall was quiet. Then the Ashara leader spoke. The Council agrees to these terms. Humanity has proven they think about consequences, not just capabilities. We trust you to guide us. Over the following weeks, human engineers spread across the galaxy. They worked with alien shipyards, teaching new construction methods. They explained material science and stress calculations. They shared decades of research that humanity had developed in isolation. Dayun found herself in a Velkari shipyard, watching them struggle to reinforce a vessel frame. No, she said, showing them on a holographic display. The load-bearing struts need to connect here and here. If you put them there, the ship will break apart at 0.6 light speed. The Velkari engineers, who had mocked human technology weeks ago, now listened carefully to every word she said. Why did you share this knowledge? One of them asked. You could have kept it secret, maintained your advantage. Doan looked surprised. Why would we do that? If we're going to be part of a galactic community, we need that community to be strong. The Devourers prove that. They're still out there somewhere. We defeated one fleet, but there might be more. The galaxy needs to be ready. You think like a collective, not like competitors. We think like survivors, Daun corrected. Humanity learned a long time ago that we're stronger together. On the Steadfast, which had been fully repaired and upgraded, Jiho trained a group of young officers from various species. They stood on the bridge watching simulations of the battle. Notice the approach vector, Jiho said, pointing at the hologram. Captain Kim didn't charge straight at the command ship. He came in at an angle, using the enemy formation's momentum against them. This forced the Devourers to turn, which slowed their response time. But you were outnumbered thousands to one, a young Thornax officer said. How did you maintain discipline? How did you not panic? Jiho thought about it. Because we trusted each other. Every person on this ship knew their job and did it. Captain Kim trusted Engineer Park to keep the engines running. She trusted Navigator Song to plot the course. He trusted Weapons Officer Kang to fire at the right moment. Trust is what holds a crew together when everything else is falling apart. That's not something we can learn from a manual, another student observed. No, Jiho agreed. It's not. That's why experience matters. That's why training matters. That's why you drill and practice until the actions become instinct. The students looked at each other. They had come from species that valued individual glory and personal achievement. The idea of collective trust was foreign to many of them. Your species fights as one unit, the Thornax said slowly. That's your real advantage, isn't it? Not just the technology. Yes, Jiho said. Technology is just tools. People make the difference. Back on Earth, the response to humanity's sudden fame was mixed. Some people celebrated. Finally, humans were recognized as equals in the galaxy. Others worried. Would this bring more danger? Would Earth become a target? Hyunwoo returned home for the first time in 6 months. He stood in his small apartment looking at the pictures on the wall. His family, his friends, the life he had before becoming famous. His communicator buzzed. It was Yuna. Admiral Yuna Choi sat in the command center deep beneath the Korean mountains. The room was dark except for the glow of dozens of screens showing data from across the solar system. Around her, military officers and scientists worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew something important was happening, but only a few knew exactly what. The transmission from Taehyun had come through clearly. The Galactic Council had rejected humanity. They wanted to lock Earth inside its own solar system like a prisoner in a cell. The Council thought humans were too dangerous to be free. They thought humans would bring war and destruction to the galaxy. Yuna had expected this. When Earth first made contact with the galactic community 6 months ago, she knew it might go badly. Humans had a violent history. That was undeniable. But violence was not the same as evil, and the Council did not seem to understand the difference. "Get me Dr. Ji-won Kang," Yuna said to her assistant. Within minutes, Dr. Ji-won entered the command center. She was younger than Yuna, with short black hair and glasses that reflected the computer screens. She carried a data tablet and looked both nervous and excited. "Admiral," Ji-won said, "I assume this is about the Council's decision?" "They rejected us," Yuna confirmed. "Full quarantine. We are not allowed to leave our solar system." Ji-won nodded. "I thought they might." "They are afraid of us. Fear is useful," Yuna said, "but fear without respect leads to contempt. They do not respect us. They think we are like wild animals that need to be caged. What do you want to do?" Yuna turned to look at a large screen on the wall. It showed a diagram of a strange device. The device looked like a long tube with rings around it and a complex core in the center. Labels marked different parts with names like gravitational lens, quantum stabilizer, and space-time manipulator. "Is Project Verdict ready?" Yuna asked. Ji-won took a breath. "Yes, we have completed all tests. The gravitational lance performed perfectly in every simulation. We can strike any target within 5 light years with accuracy down to the atomic level." Yuna studied the weapon on the screen. The gravitational lance was humanity's greatest secret. For 5 years, Earth's best scientists had worked on it in complete secrecy. The weapon did not fire lasers or missiles. It did not create explosions or release radiation. Instead, it manipulated the fabric of space itself. The lance could create a tiny, focused gravitational field at any specific point in space. This field would last for less than a second, but during that time, it would compress matter with unimaginable force. Anything caught in the field would be crushed down to nothing, and then released as the field collapsed. The target would simply disappear. The most important feature was precision. The lance could target something as small as a coin without touching anything around it. It could destroy one brick in a wall and leave the rest standing. It could erase one seat in a theater without harming the person sitting in it. "How long until the weapon is ready to deploy?" Yuna asked. "The Mugunghwa is already loaded and positioned," Ji-won said. "We just need the targeting coordinates. Once we have those, we can fire within hours." Captain Minho Shin stepped forward. He was the senior officer of Earth's defense fleet. Admiral with respect using such a weapon could start a war. The Council has hundreds of warships. We have 20. If they decide to retaliate, we cannot win. "That is exactly why we must do this correctly," Yuna said. "We are not going to start a war, Captain. We are going to prevent one. The Council thinks we are weak. They think we are primitive. They think they can trap us without consequence. We need to change their thinking." "How?" Minho asked. Yuna pointed at the weapon diagram. "We are going to show them that we could destroy them, but we choose not to. That is the message. Not we are strong enough to fight you. Instead, we are strong enough to hurt you badly, but we have the wisdom not to do it." Ji-won smiled slightly. "You want to scare them and impress them at the same time." "Exactly. Fear makes them cautious. Impressed respect makes them willing to negotiate. Together, those emotions might make them reconsider their judgment." Minho looked uncertain. "What will we target?" "Nothing that can hurt anyone," Yuna said firmly. "This is a demonstration, not an attack. Taehyun will give us the coordinates. He will choose something that proves our capability without causing casualties. The Council needs to see what we can do, but they also need to see that we are not murderers." She turned to address everyone in the command center. "Humanity has always been good at war. We have fought each other for thousands of years. We know how to kill efficiently, but we also know something else. We know that the greatest strength is not the ability to destroy. It is the ability to choose not to destroy. That is what separates us from mindless beasts. That is what makes us civilized." The room was silent. Everyone was listening. The Galactic Council judged us based on our past, Una continued. They looked at our wars and our weapons and decided we were dangerous. They were right. We are dangerous. But they made one mistake. They assumed that being dangerous means we cannot control ourselves. They think we are like a loaded gun with no safety switch. We are going to show them that we are the gun, the safety switch, and the person holding it. We are in complete control. G1 pulled up additional data on her tablet. The Mugungwa is stationed 3 light-years from Nexus Prime. The ship is using stealth technology that the Council does not know we have. They cannot detect it. As far as they know, we only have conventional ships with visible engines and traceable energy signatures. What about the crew? Minyo asked. Who is operating the weapon? Major Hieri Song is the weapons officer, G1 said. She has trained on the Lance for 2 years. If anyone can make this shot, it is her. Una nodded. She trusted Hieri. The Major was precise, calm, and professional. More importantly, she understood the stakes. This was not about showing off. It was about survival. If the Council kept humanity locked in its solar system, humans would eventually grow desperate. Desperate people made mistakes. Wars started from desperation more often than from ambition. Send a coded message to Tai Hyun, Una ordered. Tell him to choose the target. It must be something impressive but harmless. Something that proves our precision without causing panic. Yes, Admiral. Una walked to the window of the command center. Outside, through thick glass, she could see the mountains of Korea covered in snow. Somewhere up there, people were living their normal lives. They had no idea that their entire future was being decided in this room. She thought about her daughter who was studying art at university. She thought about her parents who still lived in the countryside and grew vegetables in their garden. She thought about all the children in schools and all the workers in factories and all the families eating dinner together. They were all counting on her to make the right decision, even though they did not know it. The Council wanted to trap humanity because they were afraid. But fear was a terrible foundation for peace. Real peace came from mutual respect. It came from understanding that war was possible, but choosing something better. Una had read the histories of every major war on Earth. She knew that wars often started because one side underestimated the other. The Council was underestimating humanity right now. They thought humans were aggressive but weak. They thought human technology was primitive. They thought human weapons were crude. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral, an officer called out. We are receiving coordinates from Commander Park. Una turned back to the command center. Display them. A new image appeared on the main screen. It showed the council chamber where Taehyun had stood. The image zoomed in on a specific object, a chair. The throne where the Marathi chair sat when leading the council meetings. Una understood immediately. The throne was a symbol of authority. It was ancient, supposedly indestructible and respected by every species in the galaxy. Destroying it would send a clear message. More importantly, destroying only the throne while leaving everything else untouched would prove humanity's precision. Perfect, Una said softly. That is perfect. She picked up the communication device. Open a secure channel to the Mugungwa. A moment later, a woman's face appeared on the screen. Major Hieri Song looked calm and ready. Major, Una said. We have your target. Transmitting coordinates now. Hieri glanced at something off-screen as the data came through. Her eyes widened slightly. That is a very specific target, Admiral. Can you hit it? Yes. Precision is plus or minus 3 centimeters. The throne is large enough. I can remove it completely without affecting anything around it. Collateral damage? 0. The gravitational field will be tightly focused. Nothing else will be touched. Una felt relief wash over her. This would work. It had to work. Prepare to fire on my command, she said. Wait for Commander Park's signal. He will tell us when the council is assembled. We strike when they are all watching. Understood, Admiral. The transmission ended. Una sat back in her chair and closed her eyes for just a moment. In 6 days, everything would change. Either the Council would respect humanity, or they would declare war. There was no middle ground anymore. She opened her eyes and looked at her officers. We have 6 days. Let us use them wisely. The gravitational lance did not announce itself with light or sound. There was no beam cutting through space, no missile streaking toward its target. The weapon worked by manipulating the fundamental fabric of reality itself. At a specific point in space, exactly where the Marathi chair's throne existed, Gravity suddenly became impossibly strong for a fraction of a second. The throne, that ancient symbol of council authority, collapsed inward. The compressed star matter that had survived for millions of years could not resist the focused gravitational force. In less time than it took for a human heart to beat once, the massive throne compressed down to a point smaller than an atom. Then just as quickly the gravitational field released. The compressed matter tried to expand back to its original form, but the atomic bonds had been shattered. The throne simply ceased to exist. One moment the Marathi chair sat on his ancient throne. The next moment there was nothing beneath him but empty air. The ancient being tumbled backward, his arms flailing in surprise. He hit the floor with an undignified thump. For several seconds nobody moved. The entire council chamber froze in shock. Then chaos erupted. Alarms screamed throughout the station. Security forces rushed into the chamber, weapons ready. Ship captains screamed into communicators demanding to know what had happened. Scientists checked their sensors trying to understand how something could simply disappear without any energy signature or explosion. The space where the throne had been was perfectly empty. Not even dust remained. The floor beneath it was untouched. The air around it showed no signs of heat or radiation. Whatever had destroyed the throne had done so with surgical precision, leaving absolutely nothing else affected. Taehyun remained standing calmly in the center circle. Hana stood beside him, equally composed. They made no attempt to run or hide. They simply waited for the council to realize what had happened. The Marathi chair picked himself up from the floor. His dignity was wounded, but he was physically unharmed. He stared at the empty space where his throne had been for 10,000 years. His ancient eyes, which had seen empires rise and fall, now showed something they rarely showed. Fear. What have you done? The Velkari representative shouted. This is an act of war. No, Taehyun said, his voice cutting through the chaos. This is a demonstration. The alarm stopped as station security realized there was no immediate danger. The council members slowly turned their attention back to the two humans standing calmly in the center of the chamber. A demonstration of what? The Marathi chair asked quietly. His voice was steady, but there was a new note of respect in it. A demonstration of capability and restraint, Taehyun replied. What you just witnessed was a strike from Earth, delivered by a weapon you did not know we possessed, fired from a ship you cannot detect, with precision that your best scientists would struggle to match. Hana stepped forward. We destroyed an object you considered indestructible. We did it while you were all watching and none of you saw it coming. More importantly, we did it without harming anyone. A murmur ran through the chamber. Aliens checked their personal sensors and communicators, confirming what their eyes had shown them. The throne was gone, but nothing else had been damaged. No one had been hurt. The attack had been perfectly, impossibly precise. How? Asked a crystalline being whose species was known for advanced technology. Our sensors detected no energy beam, no missile, no quantum disruption. How did you destroy the throne? That information is classified, Taehyun said. Just as I am sure many of your military secrets are classified. What matters is not how we did it. What matters is what we chose to do and what we chose not to do. He walked forward and, surprisingly, the security forces did not stop him. They seemed uncertain how to react. These two unarmed humans had just demonstrated a weapon capability that should be impossible for their species. We could have targeted your ships, Taehyun continued. We could have destroyed your power cores, your weapon systems, your life support. We could have struck at any of you personally. Instead, we destroyed a chair, a symbol, the Marathi chair said softly, understanding dawning in his ancient eyes. You destroyed a symbol of authority to prove your point without spilling blood. Exactly. Taehyun stopped in the center of the chamber, looking up at all the council members. You judged us as violent and dangerous. You were correct. We are dangerous. But you made the mistake of thinking that danger means we are mindless or cruel. You thought we could not control our violent nature? Hana joined him. Humanity has spent thousands of years learning to control violence. We have created laws, ethics, philosophies, all designed to help us manage our aggressive instincts. We have not always succeeded, but we have always tried. That is what makes us civilized, not the absence of violence, but the choice not to use it. A small alien with large eyes spoke up. You are saying you could have killed us all, but you chose not to? Yes, Taehyun confirmed. That is exactly what we are saying. And that choice, that decision to show restraint even when we have power, is what you should have judged us on. Not our capacity for violence, but our capacity to control it. The council chamber fell silent again. This time it was not the silence of shock, but of consideration. The council members were beginning to understand the message. The Marathi chair slowly stood up. Without his throne, he looked smaller, more vulnerable, but his voice remained strong. "You have frightened us, humans." "Good," Taehyun said without apology. "Fear is the beginning of respect. You did not respect us before because you did not fear us. You thought we were primitive children playing with dangerous toys. Now you know better. Now we know you can hurt us," said the Valkyrie representative, his voice shaking slightly. "Yes, but more importantly, now you know we can choose not to hurt you." Taehyun gestured to the empty space where the throne had been. "We sent a message across 3 light years, targeted one specific object in a chamber filled with thousands of people, and destroyed only that object. Do you understand what that means?" The crystalline being spoke again. "It means you have mastered precision warfare to a degree we did not think possible for your species." "It means more than that," Hana added. "It means we could wage war against you with surgical strikes that you could not defend against or even detect until after they happened. It means we could destroy your military while leaving your civilians untouched. It means we could eliminate threats without mass casualties." She paused, letting that sink in. "But we do not want to do any of that. We do not want war. We want peace. Real peace based on mutual respect, not fear-based containment." The Marathi chair walked slowly around the empty space where his throne had been. He reached out with one hand, touching the air where solid matter had existed moments before. "Our sensors show no trace of the throne, not even atomic residue. You did not just destroy it. You erased it from existence." "Yes," Taehyun confirmed. "And you did this to prove that you could?" "No. We did this to prove that we could and that we chose to show mercy. Any species can destroy. True civilization requires the wisdom to know when not to destroy." A long silence followed. Council members looked at each other, communicating in ways the humans could not understand. Finally, the Marathi chair turned back to face Taehyun and Hana. "You have made your point, humans. Perhaps we were too hasty in our judgment." "Perhaps?" Hana raised an eyebrow. The old being allowed himself a small, dry laugh. "Very well. We were definitely too hasty. We judged you based on incomplete information. We saw your violence but not your wisdom. We saw your weapons but not your restraint. And now?" Taehyun asked. The Marathi chair looked around the chamber at all the council members. "Now we must reconsider. A species that can strike with such precision and chooses not to kill demonstrates something we did not expect from humans." "What is that?" Hana asked. "Self-control." "True, genuine self-control. Not the peace that comes from weakness, but the peace that comes from strength held in check." The Valkyrie representative stood up. "This does not change everything. You still have a violent history. You still create terrible weapons." "Yes, we do," Taehyun agreed. "And we always will. Because the galaxy is dangerous and we refuse to be victims. But creating weapons and using them carelessly are two different things. We create weapons so we never have to use them. That is the paradox of peace through strength." Another long silence. Then slowly council members began to nod. Not all of them, but enough. The Marathi chair made a decision. The council will vote again on humanity's status. This time, we will consider not just what you have done in the past, but what you have chosen not to do today. "That is all we ask," Taehyun said. "Judge us on who we are now, not who we were." "The vote will take place tomorrow," the Marathi chair announced. "Until then, you are both free to remain on the station. Security will not interfere with you." As council members began to leave, many of them cast long looks at the two humans. Fear and respect mixed in those looks. The balance had shifted. Humanity was no longer seen as primitive or helpless. Taehyun and Hana walked out of the chamber together. Once they were in the corridor and out of sight, Hana let out a long breath. "That was terrifying," she admitted. "Yes," Taehyun agreed. "But it worked. They are afraid now, but they are also impressed. That combination might save us." The council chamber looked different the next day. The Marathi chair sat on a temporary seat, much simpler than his ancient throne. The empty space where the throne had been remained visible to everyone. It served as a reminder of what had happened, a physical proof that humanity was not to be underestimated. Every council member was present. Additional observers filled the galleries, having heard about yesterday's demonstration. Word had spread quickly through the station. The humans had done something impossible. They had struck from an unknown location with unknown weapons and shown perfect precision. Now everyone wanted to see what the council would decide. Taehyun and Hana entered the chamber and took their place in the center circle. They wore the same uniforms as before, clean and professional. They showed no arrogance, no pride. They simply stood and waited with quiet dignity. The Marathi chair began without ceremony. The council has discussed humanity's demonstration at length. We have analyzed the data, examined the evidence, and considered the implications. We are ready to announce our decision. The chamber fell silent. Taehyun felt his heart beating faster, but his face remained calm. First, let me address what happened yesterday. The Marathi chair continued. Humanity destroyed an object that our best scientists considered indestructible. They did this without any warning, from an unknown location using unknown technology. Our security systems detected nothing until after the strike was complete. Several council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This demonstrates several things, the old being said. It shows that human technology is more advanced than we believed. It shows that human weapons are more sophisticated than we expected. Most importantly, it shows that humans can strike with precision that equals or exceeds our own capabilities. The Valkyrie representative spoke up. It also shows that they are willing to attack us even when surrounded by our military forces. They are bold, perhaps too bold. Or they are confident, countered the crystalline being. There is a difference between foolish aggression and calculated demonstration of power. The Marathi chair raised a hand for silence. Both of you make valid points. However, there is one aspect of yesterday's event that we must not ignore. The humans could have killed. They could have destroyed ships, eliminated council members, or caused mass casualties. Instead, they destroyed a chair. He paused, letting that sink in. A chair, he repeated. An empty symbol. They chose their target carefully to prove capability without causing harm. That choice matters. Hana spoke up, her voice clear and steady. May I address the council? You may. Members of the council, you have debated whether humanity is too dangerous to be free. But danger is not the same as evil. A knife is dangerous, but it can be used to prepare food or to commit murder. The danger lies not in the knife itself, but in the hand that holds it and the mind that guides that hand. She walked forward slightly, her eyes moving from one council member to another. Humanity is dangerous. We admit this freely. We have weapons that can destroy planets. We have the knowledge to create biological horrors. We have the aggression that comes from millions of years of evolution as predators. All of this is true. Several aliens nodded. This was what they feared. But, Hana continued, we also have something else. We have ethics. We have philosophy. We have the accumulated wisdom of thousands of years spent learning how to control our violent nature. We have laws that punish those who kill unjustly. We have teachers who instruct our children in compassion. We have artists who show us beauty. We have scientists who seek understanding, not just power. Taehyun joined her. You judged us based on our worst moments. You looked at our wars and our weapons and decided we were unfit for galactic civilization. But you did not look at our best moments. You did not see the millions of times we chose peace when we could have chosen war. You did not see the countless acts of mercy, forgiveness, and cooperation that define most of human history. War is dramatic, Hana added. It makes for memorable history. But peace is normal. Peace is what humans do most of the time. We grow food, we build homes, we raise children, we create art. War is the exception, not the rule. A small alien with blue skin spoke up. Then why do you have so many weapons if peace is your normal state? Because peace must be defended, Taehyun answered. We learned this the hard way through centuries of suffering. Those who cannot defend themselves become victims. We refuse to be victims ever again. So yes, we build weapons. But building weapons and using them carelessly are two different things. The Marathi chair leaned forward. You said yesterday that we should judge you on who you are now, not who you were. Very well, who are you now? Taehyun took a breath. We are a species that has learned from our mistakes. We have fought wars and seen their cost. We have created terrible weapons and understood their danger. We have hurt each other and learned the value of mercy. We are not perfect. We never will be, but we are trying to be better than we were. Show me proof of this, demanded the Valkyrie representative. Words are easy. Show me actions that prove you value peace. Yesterday's demonstration was that proof, Hana said. We could have started a war. We could have destroyed ships and killed council members. We had the capability and the opportunity. Instead, we destroyed an empty chair. That was our choice. That is who we are. The council chamber buzzed with quiet conversation. Aliens discussed the point in their own languages. Taehyun could not understand their words, but he could sense the changing mood. They were considering humanity's argument seriously. Finally, the Marathi chair called for order. The council will now vote on humanity's status. The question before us is simple. Should humanity be granted provisional membership in galactic civilization? Or should they remain quarantined? One by one, the council members cast their votes. The process took several minutes. Taehyun and Hana stood together, their hands clasped behind their backs, waiting. When all votes were counted, the Marathi chair announced the result. By a vote of 42-19 with 6 abstentions, the council has decided to grant humanity provisional membership. Taehyun felt relief wash over him, but he kept his expression neutral. However, the Marathi chair continued, "This membership comes with conditions. Humanity will be monitored carefully. Your expansion into the galaxy will be gradual and supervised. You will be required to share information about your weapons technology, and you will submit to regular inspections." "We accept these conditions," Taehyun said. With one modification, the chamber grew quiet again. Even after everything the humans were negotiating. "What modification?" the Marathi chair asked. "We will share information about our weapons in exchange for information about yours. Knowledge must flow both ways, and inspections must be mutual. If you inspect our ships, we inspect yours. If you monitor our space, we monitor yours. True membership requires equal treatment, not the treatment of prisoners on parole." Several council members objected immediately, but the Marathi chair raised his hand again. "The human makes a fair point. If we treat them as members, they deserve member privileges. If we treat them as threats, we prove that we have not truly changed our minds about them." After more discussion, the council agreed to modified terms. Humanity would receive full provisional membership with the same rights and responsibilities as other species. The monitoring would be reciprocal. The information sharing would be mutual. "There is one more thing," the Velkari representative said. "That weapon you used yesterday, the one that erased the throne from existence, you must promise never to use it against a living being." Taehyun and Hana looked at each other. Then Taehyun turned back to the council. "We cannot make that promise," he said. Shock rippled through the chamber. "Explain," the Marathi chair demanded. "We cannot promise never to use our weapons because we do not know what threats we might face in the future. If an enemy threatens Earth with extinction, we will use every weapon we have to defend ourselves. That is not negotiable." The mood in the chamber shifted toward anger, but Taehyun held up his hand. "However," he continued, "we can promise this. We will never use such weapons as First Strike. We will never use them against civilian targets. We will never use them without exhausting all diplomatic options. And we will never use them for conquest or territorial gain. We will use them only for defense and only as a last resort. That promise we can make, and that promise we will keep." The Marathi chair considered this. "And if you break this promise? Then you will have been right about us all along, and you can take appropriate action. But we will not break it. Humanity has learned that the power to destroy carries with it the responsibility not to destroy. We do not take that responsibility lightly." After a long pause, the Marathi chair nodded slowly. "That is acceptable. The council recognizes that all species have the right to self-defense. We ask only that such defense be proportional and just." "Agreed," Taehyun said. The council session ended officially with the signing of documents and formal ceremonies. But the real ending came afterward, when individual council members approached Taehyun and Hana privately. The crystalline being was first. "You frightened us yesterday, humans. But you also impressed us. That is a difficult balance to achieve." The council chamber was enormous. Taehyun Park had seen large buildings before, but this was different. The room stretched up so high that he could barely see the ceiling. Thousands of aliens filled the space, sitting on platforms that floated in the air. Each one belonged to a different species from across the galaxy. Some had scales, others had fur, and some looked like they were made of living crystal. They all had one thing in common. They were all looking down at him. Taehyun stood alone in the center of the floor. A circle of light surrounded him, marking where he was allowed to stand. His uniform was crisp and clean, dark blue with silver buttons. On his shoulder, A patch showed the Earth with its continents clearly visible. He kept his hands behind his back and his head high. He would not show fear, not here. Not now. Behind him, up in the visitors' gallery, Hana Lee watched everything. She was his partner, his second in command. They had traveled together from Earth to this place, a massive space station called Nexus Prime. It sat at the center of the galaxy, where all the important species met to make decisions. For 3 days, Hana and Taehyun had waited while the council examined everything about Earth. They had watched videos of human history. They had read reports about human wars. They had studied how humans built weapons and how humans fought each other. Now they were ready to give their judgment. A creature that looked like a giant mantis stood up. Its voice came through a translator that everyone could understand. We have reviewed all the evidence about the planet called Earth and its dominant species, humans. We have seen your history. We have studied your culture. We have analyzed your technology. Taehyun listened without moving. The council has reached a decision. The mantis creature continued. Humanity is too dangerous to join galactic civilization. You fight too much. You kill too much. You turn everything into a weapon. Even your children's toys can be used to hurt others. Even your music tells stories of violence and war. Another alien stood up. This one was large and covered in thick gray skin. Its eyes were small and dark. Your species has only existed for a short time, yet you have already created weapons that could destroy your entire world. You split atoms to make bombs. You create diseases in laboratories. You build machines that kill from the sky. What will you do when you have access to the technologies of the galaxy? You will become a threat to everyone. More aliens nodded. Some made sounds that the translators couldn't interpret, but Taehyun understood the meaning. They agreed. They all agreed that humans were too violent, too aggressive, too dangerous. A being that seemed to be made of flowing water spoke next. Its voice sounded like rain falling on leaves. Therefore, the council has decided to implement a quarantine. Humanity will be confined to its own solar system. You may not travel beyond your star. You may not establish colonies on other worlds. You may not make contact with other species. If you attempt to break this quarantine, we will use containment protocols. Taehyun knew what that meant. Containment protocols was a polite way of saying they would destroy any human ship that tried to leave the solar system. They would trap humanity on Earth and its neighboring planets forever. Do you have anything to say, human? Asked the being in the center. It was called the Marathi chair, the leader of the council. It looked ancient, with skin like old leather and eyes that glowed with a soft purple light. I have a question, Taehyun said. His voice was calm and steady. Speak. You say we are dangerous. You say we are violent. You say we are a threat. Taehyun looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many aliens as he could. If this is true, why did you let us come here with only 2 people and 1 small ship? The chamber became quiet. Some aliens shifted in their seats. The Marathi chair tilted its head. What do you mean? You scanned our ship when we arrived, Taehyun continued. You know we have no weapons. You know we cannot harm anyone here. If we are truly as dangerous as you say, why are you not afraid of us right now? A reptilian creature with bright red scales laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber. You think we are afraid of you? Of 2 humans with no weapons on a station protected by 1,000 warships? You are not a threat to us. You are only a threat to your future selves and to the innocent species you might encounter if we let you spread across the stars. So you believe we cannot hurt you now, but we might hurt others later, Taehyun said. Exactly, said the Marathi chair. Taehyun nodded slowly. He looked down at the floor for a moment, then back up at the council. I understand your decision. It is clear you have made up your minds. I request 1 week to prepare our formal response. Then we will leave and accept your judgment. The council members looked at each other. Some seemed surprised that Taehyun was accepting the verdict so easily. Others seemed satisfied. 1 week is acceptable, said the Marathi chair. You may return to your ship. On the 7th day, you will present your final statement to this council and then you will return to Earth. You will tell your people about the quarantine. If humans attempt to break it, there will be consequences. Taehyun bowed his head slightly. Understood. We will return in 1 week. He turned and walked toward the exit. The circle of light followed him until he reached the doorway. Hana was waiting there, her face carefully neutral. They walked together through the long corridors of the station without speaking. Other aliens passed them, some curious, some dismissive. A few made comments that the translators picked up. Shame about the humans, one said. They seemed promising. Too violent, another replied. Better to cage them now before they become a real problem. When they finally reached their ship, a small vessel with smooth white hull, they went inside and closed the door. Only then did Hana speak. They dismissed us, she said quietly. Like we are children. They did, Taehyun agreed. He sat down in the captain's chair and activated the communication system. They think we are weak because we came here peacefully. They think we are not a threat because we didn't bring weapons. What do we do now? Hana asked. Taehyun looked at her with steady eyes. Now we show them the difference between choosing peace and being incapable of war. We show them that the most dangerous humans are the ones who know exactly how much damage they can do, and choose not to do it. He opened a secure channel to Earth. The quantum communicator hummed to life, connecting them instantly across light years of space. On the other end, Admiral Yuna Choi's face appeared on the screen. Commander Park, she said. I take it the meeting did not go well? No, Admiral, Taehyun replied. They have decided to quarantine humanity. We are to be prisoners in our own solar system. Admiral Choi's expression did not change, but her eyes grew hard. And their reasoning? We are too violent, too dangerous, too aggressive, I see. Admiral Choi was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Perhaps it is time to show them that they are correct to fear us, but wrong to think they can cage us. Taehyun allowed himself a small smile. That is exactly what I was thinking, Admiral. I will begin preparations, Admiral Choi said. You have 1 week. Use it well. The transmission ended. Taehyun sat back in his chair and looked out the window at the massive space station floating in the darkness. Somewhere in that station, the council members were celebrating their decision. They thought they had solved a problem. They thought they had prevented a future threat. They had no idea what was coming.